Lawmakers in Missouri currently looking to expand health net coverage to low-income, pregnant, and postpartum women.
If passed, the coverage would include full Medicaid benefits for the length of the pregnancy and for a year following the end of the pregnancy. Identifying what contributes to the end of a pregnancy as well as how miscarriages factor into the bill is still being processed. Hannibal Regional Medical Group OBGYN John Bennett says this could lead to more healthy moms.
Women who are working have multiple roles, and by, again, being able to access and have support, I think you're going to look at less postpartum depression. You're going to look at better capabilities and efficiency in the workplace.
And Bennett says the expansion would let mothers and future mothers know they are not alone and that help is available.